Welcome into a special edition of Louisiana Loaded here, as always, from the garage. We had to get back into the studio because some major news obviously happened earlier this week that we wanted to give our reaction to. We appreciate all the support on the Preston Guy conversation. Remember to like, follow, subscribe to everything Louisiana Loaded. You can follow us on all social media platforms and, of course, right here on YouTube. And when we broke off earlier this week, just about an hour and a half later.
Just missed the mark.
just had missed it. But we did have a chance to ask Preston about it late in the conversation because you could feel the momentum and kind of the snowball building that Will Wade was going to be named LSU head basketball coach once again. And that officially happened earlier this week on Thursday afternoon. And a press conference will come early next week. But everybody is reacting throughout college sports, throughout sports everywhere. I think CNN was talking a little bit about it this morning. I mean, it is all over the place. So we wanted to put our reaction down and give what we thought about it. And, of course, Jordy Culotta joined us alongside Willie Helmers and our boy Brandon G., our producer. What'd you think right when you heard it?
I mean, I'm excited. I was fired up. So he was there when I guess he left when I was a sophomore.
Yeah.
Just the fire behind the program and how he treated recruits, and I just had such a cool experience with him. I got to meet him a few times and just watch him coach.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
And so I was fired up, and it's been talked about for a month or so now that he was on his way and things were shifting to make it happen, and I could you could feel it coming.
Yeah.
It's just cool. And so he's here and it's exciting.
Obviously, I think this thing is layered. So I want to talk through all the layers. I want to give you all of my reaction of it because I'm a lot like Will. I think this was the worst kept secret in sports for the last really over a month. I could even go back to when Will was hired at NC State, and especially the momentum started to build when Wade Roos was named president of LSU.
That's right.
Like a lot of things were pointed towards an early September date of, hey, if Roos gets that president's job, watch out. There is going to be a lot of smoke around Will Wade wanting and possibly coming back to LSU. And I don't think that was just around here. I mean, I routinely scroll through X and social media, and you wouldn't see reports, but there were things of people that were notable throughout the college basketball industry media who were saying, look, there are rumors out there that Will Wade could be going back to LSU. I mean, I've seen a lot of the fallout, and I expect a lot of the fallout from guys like Pat Forty and Jay Billis and Dick Vitale and all these old guard guys who have been guarding the game for so long that have obviously lost a ton of accreditation through this, really, it should be a case study, really, on some of these guys like Pat Forty in particular, just to see how irrelevant he's become on one issue. I mean, think about how many issues Pat Forty has written about throughout his 35-plus year career, and he has died on the hill of cheating in college basketball. Like, thinking that Will Wade invented it.
Right. Why are we dying on that?
Like, buddy, there are so many other issues that you could choose from here that you've decided this is it. I'm planting my flag on the LSU basketball program, supposedly paying players. Like, come on, man. This is college basketball. This thing's been happening forever. And, you could I've had out loud beef with Dick Vitale, and that was what it was about. Like, Dick, come on, man. You're going to point out LSU when you've been covering Duke, Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, all these blue bloods forever, knowing how they're getting players, right? Like, I mean, come on. I always use the example of Zion Williamson. He didn't go to Duke for the brotherhood, right? Especially when you've got a Kansas assistant coach on the wiretap claiming that there's $250,000 allegedly pledged towards Zion and his family. If Kansas is giving that and he ended up at Duke, how did it happen? Right? I mean, like, Come on, like that. All of these stories of like Jay Billis talking about people talking about player loyalty. Nobody talks about coaching loyalty anymore. Well, yeah, Jay, that was a discussion 5 years ago, right? When these players couldn't jump into a transfer portal. Since then, rules have changed. These people are now paid. These athletes are paid, and they can go wherever they want, whenever they want. So I haven't heard the player loyalty argument in a while. Like, I mean, anybody who's banking on player loyalty these days, you're going to get burned. Like, if you think somebody's going to stick it out because he grew up a fan of the program, that's just not the day and age that we live anymore. And for anybody to expect that, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. And it could have been done better. Sure, all of these things could. All endings are going to be bad at some point, right? So I'm not here to point and laugh at NC State because at some point this could be LSU, right? That's just the game and how it works. Yeah. I would say to NC State fans, the shock of it, of your fallout, it is a little like head scratching. Like this was being talked about within the last month, right? But nobody wants to pay a coach for a year that comes in and has a great message and is very enthusiastic and then lose him 10 months later. I get it. I understand it. But when I look at Will Wade and him landing back at LSU, there's no other example I can give that's a comp to this. I can't think of anything where a coach has been at a program, beloved, fired, and then returns within like a 5-year span.
Yeah,
like not a long time. And it's still like has this following and cult-like, you know, I mean, just passion behind him that you could see. I mean, he's in town, he's in Baton Rouge, and you could already feel the love behind Wade and just what's now for the basketball program. So that's one layer of it to me, the national fallout. And I think you're going to get the typical responses from the Vitals and the Billises and the Pat Forties of trying to just kind of really, you know, not necessarily for Billis, but more for like the Vital 40 crew, just to stay relevant. Yeah. I mean, really and truly, I mean, if they're not complaining about this, I don't ever hear about them.
What else do they have?
I don't know them. I don't hear them. So if you want to talk about it again, okay. But I mean, this subject has really moved downstream, and the fact that Wade is back at LSU is the great example of it.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter. And to me, the next layer, I want to have this out there. Wade should have never lost his job. He should have never been fired from LSU when he was. And before I get into that layer, I want to first say that Matt McMahon deserves a lot of credit for how this went down and how he's handled it, right? Because I think we've kind of all within the LSU community who follows the program, the athletic program, have almost lost the sense of, look, there's a person involved here. There's a person, there's a family, there's kids in school, there's a community that has, you know, a lot of passion around a person and a program that have now gotten back together. And McMahon, when he took the job, was in an impossible situation. The worst I've ever seen. I think maybe if you look back in this era of college sports, it's probably the worst takeover from a coach taking over a program that has existed. I mean, literally, he had one or two players, maybe one or two players. He just could never get it going, right? And Wade being in the backyard in Lake Charles the first 2 years did him no favors. Right. The fact that he was still around and he was still in South Louisiana and there was still a lot of support for him. And then Wade's team goes and wins in the tournament and he elevates to another job. It was just, it will be marked by a bad record, but it should be more than that as far as the respect goes. Right. Yeah, like you can't get past the record. It's a results oriented business and it always will be. And there's no pats on the back for, hey, we almost got him. But when you talk about Matt McMahon, the guy's class, the guy is a really good basketball coach. The guy is a family man who represented himself and I thought his family, LSU, to the utmost and deserves a lot of respect on the way out, right? Because this is an unwinnable situation for whoever was sitting in that position, right? To follow Will Wade up was impossible, and then being the guy that is replaced by Will Wade is even worse.
Right.
If you're an LSU basketball coach, he's both. You know what I mean? Like he's the same guy. He replaced Wade, and he's being replaced by Wade. It's a hell of a spot to be the LSU basketball guy, right? So I want to make sure that is said, that there is a ton of love, respect, and really you look at where the program is, and it's struggling, and he just couldn't get it going. I expect him to land on his feet pretty quick. He's a good basketball coach. He knows the game, and he's had success. It just didn't work out here, right? But in the grand scheme of it, in this part of the onion that peels back the layer, he should have never lost his job, Will Wade. It should have never happened. And because if you wanted him to fire him over the allegations that he lost his job for, you should have done it when it first popped up.
First mattered.
Right? Like, I mean, at the point that he was at when he lost his job, he had really kind of beaten it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he really kind of gotten past a lot of the BS of it. And then as everything kind of played out, which was another worst case scenario for LSU, Jay Billis, Dick Vitale, and crew, was that the NCAA, the committee that they invented to go after Wade, the NCAA IF or whatever it was, they found nothing. Like they were like, we don't have anything. You know, like we've been doing this dog and pony show for 5 years, and come to find out, it's all clear. You know, it's all clean. So we don't have the smoking gun to point at the guy to ban him from the sport. You know, to ban him from the sport. So it was just a lot of. It didn't look good for anybody. Whether it was President Tate, whether it was Scott Woodward, because if you ask Scott Woodward's people, they say it was President Tate. You ask President Tate's people, they say it was Scott Woodward's people. Nobody wants to say, yeah, I'm the guy that fired Will Wade. Right? But it goes and falls on the desk of ultimately those two characters, those two people who were, you know, in the history of LSU. And when he lost his job that day, they didn't have a plan in place. Like, if you're going to fire this guy, you know what I mean? You're about to take away a big chunk of the nucleus of the ticket base for over the last 4 years that they've tried to build up, that they haven't had since Dale Brown, 30 years before that. They finally had some momentum working with the program. You got season ticket guy. You got people that are going and being recruited into the program that are going to the NBA. You have a team that's making the tournament year in, year out, competing for SEC titles, things that LSU basketball were not used to consistently over the years, right? Finally, the program's in a place. You're going to fire him now? Like, no, not now. Not now. And then when if you're going to do it, make sure you got a plan in place. Like Todd Golden at San Francisco, like he looks really good, right? Like he's going to be up for grabs during that cycle. Florida gets him in there, a national championship later. So, I mean, Wade should have never lost his job when he did. And then for him, you knew when there was no evidence, he was going to land somewhere and he was going to be successful, right? And then for him to land at McNeese, an hour and a half away from your practice facility is just, it was just a worst case scenario for LSU basketball, right? They never should have fired him, and he went on to success. And now the opportunity to get him back is just, it kind of saves face for a lot of people.
Yep. Absolutely.
It really truly does. And I think behind the scenes, the biggest move that was made is bringing in Heath Schroyer, right? I mean, on the heels of Lee Mallett coming over from the McNeese system, from President Wade Roos coming over from the McNeese system, people that are very familiar with Wade. But the Schroyer hire in particular was crucial because of how the athletic department is kind of being sectioned off now. And I'm for it. I really am. I think that LSU football in itself is a monster. I think you need somebody, one person, that their sole focus is the needs of that program, right? Coaching, resources, money, players, facilities, whatever it is, there needs to be somebody who 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year has a bat phone. That's the LSU football phone that if it rings, I got to answer it. I mean, like if it's Christmas morning with my kids or if I'm at my, wherever I'm at, I got to answer this phone call because this is that important. And I think Verge Osbury is that guy because he hired Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin, success really depends on the life of Verge Osbury, right? Like if Lane's not successful, Verge is done. If Lane wins, Verge wins. So it's in Verge's best interest to make sure that Lane stays fully funded and resourced so that he can win. And if that's his sole responsibility, I love it. If Schroyer's sole responsibility is to oversee programs that are monsters within themselves, Kim Mulkey's LSU women's basketball program and Jay Johnson's baseball program, and then also oversees his guy, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, like the timing is no coincidence. You know what I mean? Like Schroyer, Wade, same day, put the puzzle pieces together and him just really report to those guys, those programs. I think that's harmony that the athletic program can really thrive in, right? I think that's something that when presented, because my biggest concern on all of this, right? You're not going to find a bigger Wade advocate fan than, fanboy than having him back. I love that he's back, right? But my concern, Will was here when we talked to Verge right when he walked in, and I thought Verge made some really valid points both on the air and off the air. Yep. Right? Of like, hey, Jordy, I love Will too, and I want him back. But LSU football's got to eat. Yeah. And I know how Will runs his program. His program is not going to apologize for their seats at the table, right? Like they want all of what is coming to them. And this thing is now, it's not, it's a different game than they were playing a couple of years ago. Like now everything's above. Now it's $20 million rosters. I mean, one thing that Will Wade has seen since he's been away from LSU basketball is that he's seen the ACC up close. Yep. He's seen a team like Duke, who's probably the best in the business right now, and Shire, of putting together NIL rosters every single year. Now he's got incredible resources, incredible money, and the best facility. You got all the best to do it, but he's the model that Will was on Tobacco Road with. Yeah. I mean, I think it was like 8 minutes away from the facility. Yep. So, I mean, to see that up close and know that he had, I think, like somewhere around a $13.5 million roster at NC State. And he told me after the game, he was like, it's two different classes of basketball. Like, I mean, we could play the game 100 times.
It wouldn't even matter.
It would just, they're better than us. Yeah. They're bigger, stronger, faster. Right. They can get up and down the floor. So it's going to take a commitment that somebody is going to lose a little bit of their portion, right? And I don't know who it's going to be, where it's going to come from. I just know that that's the game now, right? And that LSU is sitting in an era where, this is kind of another piece of the onion, another layer to it, where I was telling my son this last night. Our good friend Anthony Piazza had, some people through Phil's Oyster Bar to celebrate Will being back. And my son and I went over there and we were leaving, and there was a lot of talk of the people on campus now. Mulkey, Lane, Jay, Will, all being in the same place. And I told my son, like, this is the golden age. Like you're getting into, you are going to remember, he's like 15 years old. Yeah. You're going to look back and be like, when you look back,
this is it.
Man, look at where I was because it was like when, kind of the same thing. When I was a freshman in college, Saban was hired. Yeah. And Skip's winning his fifth. Right. And you're like, wow, we're in the presence of like some cool stuff. Yeah. Like this is, but when you specifically talk about this time in LSU sports, they will write about it in Louisiana history books. Because when I was a kid, and I know I was in Louisiana history class, I learned about Huey Long sitting in Tiger Stadium with all the aristocrats getting pissed off because they were making smirky remarks about what was going on with the offense, and he'd run down there and call the play.
What do they say? History repeats itself?
History repeats itself, right? Because I believe And Hunt Palmer, who's a friend of mine, put out on Twitter, he put out on X, that you could draw a line directly back to the second half of the Texas A&M game of all that has happened to LSU.
Yep.
And I believe that. I even think you could maybe extend that back to when Jeff Landry told Scott Woodward a year ago, hire Will Wade. And when Woodward disobeyed, didn't do it,
right.
I think it was only a matter of time before the governor had enough of his ducks in a row where he could just say, I'm about to eat up that athletic department. Like, I'm about to clean house on it. Because he was never a fan of Woodward, especially after that day of, him saying, I want Will Wade back, and Woodward not abiding. And then the second half of the Texas A&M game was an absolute debacle when you talk about just the way that it looked, right? I mean, the feeling, the look. Preston talked about it earlier this week. I mean, that wasn't a loss. That was a program shifting type of loss. I mean, that was where, that things had to change. And Jeff Landry, Governor Landry, whether he handled it emotionally, I just saw that, I want everybody out, or he just was like waiting on the time to throw the hook. All of this has happened. Lane Kiffin, LSU landing number 1 class in high school, number 1 class in the portal in football, having a roster that's reportedly north of $40 million, to LSU basketball going back and getting Will Wade. All of that will be tied in some sense to the governor's office.
Yeah.
Maybe not directly, but all the actions that he kind of started and lit off, lit the wick, has now kind of exploded into LSU football's got Lane Kiffin and the basketball program's got Will Wade. Hey, Governor, if you were worried about being reelected back in November when all of this went down, you don't have to worry about it anymore.
You're good, buddy.
You're good, man. It's all good. But
exactly.
I just think those are things that you can look at throughout this episode that all have kind of played out. Now, for Will Wade and LSU basketball, it's time to win.
Yeah.
For Will Wade, this is home. Everybody feels it. His statement, both to NC State and through LSU, I thought were very heartfelt, very emotionally balanced. But one thing that was consistent in both statements is that he loves Baton Rouge and he loves LSU. If that's the case, which I believe, you're here. You're back.
Yep.
You got the gig. You walked into the office this morning as the LSU head basketball coach. Now it's time to be here for a decade and to win.
Yeah.
And not that he's not accustomed to winning, but no excuses.
Right.
All of what's happened has happened. All of that is kind of water under the bridge. And it's now time to be stable in the sense of hey, I'm not going anywhere at all. And I'm building this program into a consistent winner because as you and I were talking earlier before we went on, if he makes it to the tournament, he makes it to the second weekend, God willing, maybe once in a 5-6 year span, you get to the third weekend, you don't have to win the whole thing. They'll change street names and name them after you and build you statues if that's the LSU basketball program. Now, Lane's got to win.
Right.
Lane's got to win.
It's a totally different story.
Yeah, but Wade is in a situation where now he's got to have commitment and they've got to get to a point where you can be competitive in the league. But I just think that it's a beautiful thing.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. I mean, I love it for
exciting.
My son, the kid, you're 15 years old, bro. I'm like, this is Camelot.
Imagine when he looks back.
This is athletic Camelot. You know what I mean?
It's unbelievable.
You got Kim Mulkey playing in the tournament representing LSU. You got Jay Johnson figuring out, you got him figuring it out. You're good.
You're all right.
You're good. He's gonna be back. He's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
With the LSU baseball program, you've got Lane and LSU. And one thing that Lane said earlier this week that we didn't point out when we talked about it, and I wanted to make sure and do it, was that it's become very obvious throughout all of his press briefings and specifically through the last one of how much respect he's got for LSU football.
Oh, yeah.
Like
it's real.
Like real.
Yeah.
Like it is real. That's not conjured up. I've heard people come in here and talk about like give you the lines.
Yeah,
like you can get through them where you almost kind of believe it.
Right.
Like I don't even have to.
No.
I mean, it's passionate.
It is.
It's real. It's understanding.
Yep.
It's knowing what's come before you.
Exactly.
I mean, the comment he made about taking the practice field about just how like, hey man,
Some
like take a deep breath.
this.
Like don't play around with this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are looking over your shoulder. I think that's what Wade has always had and really endeared him to South Louisiana people, to Louisiana people immediately when he got here.
Right.
Right? Was that he's a passionate fighter that loves the place.
Yeah.
And that, at the end of the day, that's kind of it's Louisianians.
That's Louisianians.
I mean, and I know he's from Nashville.
Right.
And he's kind of been all over the place. And even he's said it to me at times of like, I just feel like I'm from here. Like I just feel like I'm at home here. Exactly. I just feel like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And I kind of feel the same thing from Lane. Like he's kind of like, I love it here. Like, this place is awesome.
Where have I been all my life?
This place is incredible.
It's just different.
Yeah, it's just different. It's just different. So to look up and to see the personalities that you have in the athletic department after what has happened this week with Will Wade being in and confirmed as the LSU basketball coach, it's just an incredible time, man.
It's nuts.
It's an incredible time to be at LSU, and I see the hate and the just the vitriol that's coming towards LSU at all angles. Social media, you can even kind of see it on TV throughout some programs of just kind of people look like, is this how they do business? Is that like, yeah, man. I mean,
they just get it done.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's just, and again, look, I'm not naive enough to think that LSU can't be on the other side of this at some point. It's a brutal game.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's a non, apologetic business. Nobody's going to apologize for what happens or who they get or how they get them. Right. So when LSU looks up and you've got Kim Mulkey, Jay Johnson, Will Wade, Lane Kiffin, sleep good at night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just don't apologize for anything.
Let's live in the present for a second.
Absolutely,
Just
man.
love it.
Absolutely.
Be excited about it.
And if Zach Bryan doesn't bring out both of them on Saturday night,
shame.
I mean, what an opportunity missed.
Shame.
So it's a great day. It's a great day for LSU athletics. It's a great day for the LSU basketball program. It's a great day. It's a great day for Louisiana. I've talked to a lot of people down in Lake Charles who are amped up to have him back in the state. I love the way they kind of handled all that. I mean, like they knew they weren't going to keep him for long and they wanted to see him succeed. Now that he's back at LSU, I think you pick up almost a new section of fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
To follow the program.
Absolutely. It's exciting.
So make sure and comment below. Give us your thoughts, what you think of Will Wade being back at LSU. We'll interact with you, but we wanted to jump on and just kind of give our thoughts of Wade being back in Baton Rouge, and it's a huge deal.
Huge deal. It's exciting.
Enjoy the weekend. It's an enormous weekend here in Baton Rouge with a 3-game set with Kentucky in town. You've got the concert in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night. It looks like the weather's going to be beautiful. So enjoy it out there. Stay safe. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Follow us on YouTube. We'll be back with you next week right here in Louisiana Loaded.